One famous, well, at least one of the earliest songs really created and recorded in American history is I Owe My Soul to the Company Store. And it is a song about a company town, about a man who is working his shift in a company town for the boss who he works for. He has a chit, and he's sort of not happy with his lot in his life because he is constantly working hard but getting almost next to nothing in return for his labor. And this is something we saw very, very much in the 19th century after the downfall of feudalism and the massive social economic changes in the sort of the 18th and the 19th century. These changes were sort of cemented. That had been gone the way of the past, but in comes these new benevolent capitalists, these benevolent industrialists who come forward and they build these new. In the UK, we saw them build what were called as model towns or model villages. You've got Saltaire, Bourneville, of course, being probably the biggest two examples in the UK. Of course, Titus Salt very big in sort of textiles area, and of course Bourneville being very, very much the creation of the Cadburys. Now, today, these types of places do not exist, and for good reason. Because if you now work for or get employed by someone who is living in a company town, well, then your boss has enormous power over you because they now own your living situation. They own a large part of what probably makes your life very, very sustainable and at least gives you a lot of stability. We've talked before about on this channel a lot about how important housing really is, and the fact that in the UK we are now in a housing crisis. I would describe it at next level and say we are really in a housing disaster because we've been allowed to walk into one because of, well, our current government. But the recreation of these company towns by, as we're seeing, Mr. Beast and even Elon Musk being created and being hailed by the people who are fans of these people as being seen as sort of, oh, how benevolent they are. Well, no, 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 no. This should not be something we go back to. There is a very, very good reason we left this type of practice back in the 19th century because it is exploitive. Because if you have sort of any sense of you may want to go against Musk or even Mr. Beast against something, maybe complain, maybe ask for a raise or something like that, well, they can always just jangle your keys right in front of you. Remember, who owns your home? It's not you. And this is something we have to be incredibly careful of. And I know some people would probably say of both these people, both Musk and Beast, oh, they would never, they would never ever do this. But how do you know they won't? And there are tons of very, very worrying stuff that we should certainly think about this, because in the 2010s we saw the big tech companies try this about, oh, we can, bring you in as part of the family, can offer all these amazing workplace benefits. But in reality, and we are now seeing in places like Facebook, Activision Blizzard was a very big case about this. We've seen massive mismanagement and lots of abuse cases, unfortunately, because of these practices that weren't very, as shall we say, beneficent as they claim. And then, of course, they would go, oh, well, you're such a wonderful part of our family. Meanwhile, of course, Mark Zuckerberg firing a load of people recently from, well, Facebook in the exact same week. He called all his Facebook employees part of his big extended family and how wonderful it was for them to be part of that. We should be extremely skeptical of this and these towns. And I sort of do agree with the title. I'm not going to go through the article, I'm just having it there, but I do agree. This is incredibly sinister. Company towns are not something we should be going back to for the pure reason of this alone. Doesn't matter how all the the charity work or charity porn, I suppose you could say, that Mr. Beast creates, because now he has power, a lot of power over his workers. And these millionaires and billionaires creating um, utopias in their image is something we should be worried about. And there is a reason why we left this, because it always turns out these places never turn out to be the utopias that they are sold us. Um, and there is a reason why we do not do this anymore. But unfortunately, certainly because of, well, you look at the economic circumstances the world is in at the moment, there would be a lot of workers who would probably jump maybe at something like this, not realizing how well indebted you then become to your boss. And then what if you want to sort of leave or go somewhere else? What if one of Mr. Beast employees sees a better opportunity or gets offered a better opportunity elsewhere that doesn't come with, shall we say, a company house or a company town? There are very, very sinister undertones about this. And like I say, these employees of Musk, certainly at SpaceX, and again, even Mr. Beast employees, they now have incredible power over their workers, a lot of power over their workers, because it all just comes down to jangling their keys. This is not something we should be going back to. This and the idea of company towns is something that should be left way, way back in the past. So, as always, like I say, thank you very much for joining me today. And always, please do remember to click the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, we'll see you all next time.